Okay, I'm kind of close. Take another step, see if I can do this one. Yeah, cool. See the little spikes where there were like the little cones that held the seeds, and then there's some sort of, I'll kind of grab some of this off of here. There's some sort of webbies or something that are holding those things there. These are the individual scales, and the seeds are in between those scales. I'm not seeing any seeds, just scales there, but yeah, just sort of webbiness holding them. That's why they're sitting underneath it like that. They're usually up on this little spike here. It looks like a cone. And then they disintegrate and the wind takes them, but these got some sort of insect webs on them that are holding these things. There's nothing that's not attached to the tree by anything but like a silkworm type, spider webby type stuff. So look at them. This is the same yellow birch. I've been out here hopping hummock to hummock to get out here, and you kind of see from this side, you can see the line of that. Used to be an old beaver dam or whatever. It's all rotted out and covered over with trees, and then it breached, and then it left all that open area back there that's, you can tell it was all wetland and cattails, and it's probably going to dry up some and be more like a wet meadow this coming year, and eventually it'll go back to being forest, the natural cycle of things. Not sure how good you can tell, but that used to be some sort of a dirt road or something down there, actually a fairly wide one. And when you're down on it especially, you can tell it's got a well-defined gutter on that side and another well-defined gutter on this side. But right now it's got a stream running right down the middle too. And it's obviously becoming overgrown with trees, but when you stand in the middle, it's perfectly straight, and it's got that gutter on either side, so just thought I'd point that out. It's another look at the roadbed. You can kind of see the way it's set up. And you can see the lower gutter on each side. So somewhere along the way it ended up shift and flow to the middle as well as the sides, but it's obviously an old road right away. On a drier part of that road before it goes down there and kind of turns into a mess, because this creek comes in from the right and jumps out into the middle of it. The thing I wanted to show you though is this just wet area here. This is all sphagnum moss taken over here. Even though it's shady, we're kind of up under pines, so it's really shady. A lot of sphagnum here, so peatland waiting to happen, and there's more over there. I think I'm gonna opt for turning off the camera and going over there and turning it back on so I don't break my neck, but that was where I was headed. Yeah, this is kind of look at this swamp over here. It's kind of wanting to turn into a bog. And here where the water's coming out, you can see the banks are just lined with sphagnum. And I'll give you a close-up here. And you can see it's the fluffy, feathery sphagnum moss. It's not like a normal moss. It's all sphagnum species here. A little bit more sunlight here and a little bit more moss, probably a couple different species. Not that good at telling them apart yet. And you got some little hummocks of sedges and everything else, and you can see a trail where somebody was going through here. Still got the same pine trees, some gray birch. I think there's a yellow birch here. And yeah. I'll try to get a little closer there without sinking. Problem with this sphagnum is, even though it looks like there's really defined banks here, a lot of times this is just nothing but, you know, really springy sphagnum. Sometimes it looks like you're stepping on something a foot above the water, and you end up. So the only reason this is holding me a little bit at all is because the temperature. A lot of this stuff is frozen. You can see I step on it, it doesn't even spring back. There's snow on it. So yeah, this is real wet, springy stuff, and it's less than an acre here, but there's definitely a bog type environment. There's some of your dewberries crawling through the middle of here and enjoying life. A couple of trees out in the middle where there's kind of a high spot. But this definitely could support some sort of sundews or pitcher plants, but none have made it here on their own, but the sphagnum did. So I said some of these places it would be nice if they actually tried promoting them that direction. You can see deer sank in here a little bit. I don't think I want to go in there past my boots. There is one of the jack pines. I'll see if I can get over to this. You see the ground is a little bit springy here. Yeah, this is a jack pine. Shit. Very short needles, bundles of 2, and they don't look like it as much when they're open. These ones are really open, but you can kind of see how flat it is on the bottom. These things have a very strong curve to them, like a banana when they're closed. Don't see any closed ones on here. They're all open, but this is a jack pine. So is this little guy next door. And you see I'm right on the edge of this bog here. Managed to get out here without killing myself. You can kind of tell like especially right here, you can see the color change and the texture change between the sphagnum moss, between the stuff that's out there where it's wetter and the stuff that's in here where it's drier. There's a white pine trying to grow here. Some other pine trees died. This guy here almost looks like a paper birch, but I think he's also still a gray birch. I'll check a little closer when I get closer. And that one over there, the one towards the rear, can't really see it too good from this angle, but he's got some seeds on him up near the top. I'm sure this guy does too, but just not really as noticeable as they were on him when I was looking at a different angle. Some nice sedges here, and you know, it could be great habitat. It's not really good for the aquatic stuff because of the acid mine drainage, but you know, the more vegetation, the more it'll help with the mine drainage, and the you know, there's a lot of birds and other things that really benefit from a good peatland here. You can kind of see right here, it's almost like a carpet. But you can tell where there's little potholes there. If anything steps out there, you sink at least 6 inches. Sometimes it'll look like it's all uniform and you'll hit a spot and you drop up to your knee. That's why I'm not really going out much farther. Love to take you out in the middle, but not feeling like being cold and miserable the rest of the day. I might get over here. Yeah, that's a maybe. I'd have to see the leaves. I'm still leaning towards this just being a gray birch. Growing a little bit more sunlight, it's more white. And here's the other guy here. And you can see looking up there that still got the seeds on from last year. And they are actually hanging on. They're not stuck in some sort of webworm stuff like the ones on that one yellow birch were. That looks like at least one of them is way up at the top to the left, but most of them are still on those cones. Sometimes they last on into summer. Depends on how windy it is, a bunch of other factors. Here they're kind of shaded or sheltered by the pine trees next door. And over there with the droopy foliage, our old friend, the non-native Norway spruce. And you can kind of see towards the top of that one, that's another jack pine. You can see the cones that aren't open yet. They've got that curve to them like a banana. So if I can get over there, I'm sinking into the water here. Like I said, a lot springier than you think it is. You think you're on dry ground, and see, this stuff's melted, so I'm going to get over on dry land here and inch my way over there. Thinking of stealing some of that reddish stuff. But yeah, I don't want to step any further out, but you can see the sort of banana curve to the cones on this guy. I get the feeling I will sink. I go out on that. My feet are already a little wet. Not liking it. Just to show how deep this stuff goes, this is a little bit of that red sphagnum moss. I figured I'd take a little sample home. You can see how deep that goes. There's no roots. It just kind of, it's like an air plant in that respect. But yeah, it can go down 4 to 6 inches. Very deceptive for trying to walk on. Another good thing to know, sometimes I call it evergreen. Sometimes I call it wintergreen. They used to call it Teaberry. The original flavoring for bubblegum was Teaberry. Sometimes you'll see Teaberry flavored on old-timey looking gum or candies. And here they call it checkerberry up in New England. But this little, I'll take a look at this one here. Here's some here, and it'll get this red tinge to it sometimes in winter, but most of the time it's mainly green. I don't see any berries on these. They get a little bit bigger, and they will have red berries. And if I find any berries, I'll make a note of it. But these are good to eat. Very interesting plant. Of course, ground pine of both kinds growing here with their little stalks with the spores. A fairly dry situation where there's some sphagnum growing, but very thinly. But here's what I really stopped for. Here's a third type of a ground pine. It's kind of branched like the more pine needle-y one, but it's still got the very small scaly leaves to it. The scales are even smaller than they are for the other scaly looking ones, just a little bit back there. Just an interesting type of goldenrod. I can't remember the exact name of the species. I can kind of tell by the fluffiness. You'll see these things in late summer, early fall, and they just got this straight line of little yellow beads right along the stalk. Really neat looking. So, thought I'd point that out. Walking where the deer walk, and this time of year sometimes you get lucky and find antlers. Also wanted to point out that deer do like pine trees. That's a sign of browsing there. And on this guy, they do like pine trees, so pine trees aren't left alone because deer don't like them. Kind of the contrary here, so I'll wander over there, see what I can find.